Temperature 18, dew point 11, altimeter 3003. Favored runway. Notices to airmen, increased bird activity.
AC base 636, 10 minutes.
Talkeetna radio 0123.64, traffic advisories. Advise on initial contact at 5. Weather better than 5005. Temperature 18, dew point 1.
In Alaska, it's a lot of self-governance. If you want to have your hand held and be told what to do, Alaska is probably not the place for you. It's definitely like a don't tread on me type mentality here.
In the mountains, they don't care how good you think you are. You really have to respect when you're up there. That place will take some of the best pilots and put them in their place.
Flying the wing and learning how to be in the mountains, you just got to remember sometimes you got people that care about you and you don't want to be another statistic.
When the mountain is wild, stay away from the mountain.
The kind of flying that we're doing up here is, all stuff that you can't learn it in a book. Things get a little bit less scary every time you do them, so you find yourself pushing that edge. It gets addicting.
Alaska is full of legends of all walks, what they stood for and what they accomplished. Whether you're a pilot or not, you can kind of relate to these larger-than-life people that I was always drawn to their stories and their imagery.
Alaskan grit spans everything from tranquil beauty to just absolute terrifying ruggedness. Being here for a period of time, you have to be fearless, and there's an old saying that there's old pilots and there's bold pilots, but there's no old, bold pilots. My name is Andrew Esola. I am an aviation mechanic and photographer in Talkeetna, Alaska. I work on every part of the airplane, from the engine to the airframe, changing out landing gears, sheet metal fabrication, to doing engine overhauls. Originally from Southern California, I moved up here for summer to bartend. Next thing I knew, I was planning routes. Absolutely fell in love with this place.
My name's Joe McAneney, spelled M-C-A-N-E-N-E-Y. I live in Talkeetna, Alaska. I suppose I'm a professional pilot now. Talkeetna is obviously an aviation town. It's everywhere. Most people here use airplanes to access their properties, to hunt, to fish. It's just a way of life for people.
The people here are kind of backwoods, do everything yourself, off the grid.
There's a real meaning of locals in this town. There's just this energy here that, for me, it was magnetizing when I first came through here before I know I'd live here. It was always in the back of my mind that flying was going to be something I wanted to pursue, and once I started doing it and experiencing it, I just really got an itch to do it. And so that first summer I was up in Alaska, on my one day off a week, I would borrow my friend's old Chevy truck and I'd drive it to Fairbanks. I would take flight lessons. I was 20 years old, and every dollar I made that summer I wasted, not wasted, but I spent on flight lessons and didn't even get close to getting my pilot's license. Andrew and I hit it off, just doing stuff outside and hanging out, shooting pool, whatever. Andrew was building sick airplanes, and I used to come over to his hangar and check it out, and he helped me study and just bounce ideas off him. Yeah, he's just kind of like become a brother to me. You can count on him, he can help me with anything. Now we work at K2 Aviation together, and he's a professional mechanic, and I'm now an instrument-rated commercial pilot and doing flight seeing tours around Denali National Park and Denali. It'll be a pretty smooth ride today, maybe a couple little bumps when we're climbing out, but a real nice day in the mountains. So Alaska is full of legends of all walks, what they stood for and what they accomplished. Whether you're a pilot or not, you can kind of relate to these larger-than-life people that makes you kind of feel soft a lot of the times.
The mountain is like a mad woman. When the woman is wild, stay away from the women. When the mountain's wild, stay away from Vermont.
Don Sheldon was a real famous bush pilot. Was the first one that kind of pioneered this airstrip right here, and this is the strip that he used and flew off of for all of his climbing expeditions. And he worked with Brad Washburn, who was a famous cartographer and photographer. They flew and mapped the Alaska range together during the 1950s.
Mission, scientific research on the highest peak in North America. The leader, the young and famous mountain explorer Brad Washburn.
Aviation is so ingrained in this community that it's almost impossible not to find yourself trying to follow in those footsteps of the Sheldons, the local aviation gurus from the past.
This is the capstone of a continent, as high as you can go and still say, this is America.
It's so hard to just not try to emulate that. It's such an epic path to go down. What could I do to add on to what they left for everybody else? How can you continue that legacy? Coming up here, I honestly had no idea what to expect when I got here, and it's just endless opportunity out there to get into the backcountry and just explore.
Andrew and I hit it off just doing stuff outside and hanging out. We didn't really know it at first, but we had a mutual hobby in photography. We've kind of developed this bond where we're just going out and shooting photos and shooting video, just like Bradford Washburn. Don Sheldon was his pilot and he was the photographer.
And a huge inspiration for me and for you, I know. With aviation photography, you can really bring in that aspect of getting up above something or getting even down below something, like some of the features in the Alaska range, a view that there's no other way to get. Photographing out of an airplane, having a pilot that understands that process, and it's almost like having a moving tripod that you're trying to remote control by communication, but also I feel like a lot of it goes unsaid.
All right, ready? Yep, let's do it. Doors locked?
Locked and loaded, baby.
All right, here we go.
The plane becomes the camera almost.
Go ahead, window open.
You live here long enough, you start doing some of the stuff, landing on airstrips that these guys first landed at in the 50s. I don't know if I'll ever do things at the level they were on. And just the tools that they had access to was much less. But now there's like the road maps and the stories and the lessons and the wisdom is sort of all laid out there for you. When I look at Brad Washburn's photos, I'm like, damn. But really, he was just out there doing what he loved, you know? It wasn't like he was setting out to plaster walls of hotels and museums.
It was just a passion project. They didn't know what they were doing then, and they were just doing it because they loved it. It's the same thing for us. This is what we would be doing if no one was watching. Try our best to hold a candle to them, and it's what we wake up and what we live for.
I feel like when you're building a legacy, you don't really think about it. You're kind of in it and it's happening and you're just living your life, following your passions. I wonder sometimes like what those guys, if they were alive, like want to go for a flight with us or check out our work.
Yeah, you find yourself in the same places as them, doing the same thing, trying to continue that legacy. It is crazy to think that, you know, one day we could have photos next to a Washburn somewhere.
Thankfully, what we do is, and especially in today's world, it's well documented and the lessons and the wisdom is sort of all laid out there for you.
There's always the rules that get bent and the airplanes that get bent as well that we end up with. You know, at the end of the day, you want to go home and, you know, have a beer with your friends, and that's not a given every single time you're up there. People will echo that saying over and over again. There's old pilots and there's bold pilots, but there's no old, bold pilots. And yet you watch them go down their path. Every day they get a little bit bolder, and every day you get a little bit older. For some people, it comes back and bites them in the ass, and some people just keep getting lucky or keep getting better.